of another little video. Um, I'm not going to go too long, so I'm just going to go ahead and jump right in. The purpose of this video is to talk a little bit about your heart's desire. It's come to my attention, going through this information that's coming in, is that a lot of people, they don't really know what they want. And so when it's time to you know, declare your intentions. If you don't know what you want, you're going to have an extremely difficult time declaring any intentions. And so now is the time to get really, really clear on what you want because we are very powerful manifestors. And what we think about does manifest, is that a lot of people don't know what they're thinking about. So, for example, if you want a new car, but you're thinking about how busted your car that you currently have has to be before you'll be willing to get a new car, well, your car will continue, shalom, shalom. Your car will continue to get more and more busted until it's busted enough that you will feel comfortable with getting a new car. And this is how manifestation works. It's not that you can't have a new car. If you set limitations on it, then it's going to be limitations that hold you back from what you're trying to get because the universe will fulfill your limitations. See, the Most High is going to give you whatever it is that you ask for. And if you ask for something with limitations, it's going to give you something with limitations. If you ask for something without limitations, it'll give it to you without limitations. And so it's up to you to determine if you're going to live with these limitations or without the limitations. And that's again back to what I've been talking about for the last few days of what master you're going to serve. Because if you're going to serve yourself as a master, we're always going to put limitations on what we can have. And that's due to the programming that has been implanted in us in the program that we're running. So, in order to get around that, you want to actually make sure that you are not putting limitations on what you want. So, a good example of this is, some things that have happened to me in my life revolve around the government. And so, when I have to interact with the government, I'm never worried about it because my interactions with the government have never ended poorly. And I understand that there are people who can't say the same thing. They've had interaction with the government that have gone absolutely horrible. So that is to say, my truth, what is true for me, is not necessarily true for someone else. And at the same time, what is true for someone else is not necessarily true for me. And when we are interacting with each other, we have to be understanding that. So I can give someone advice about something. And if their experience is, negative with that, then that person will be against it. So, for example, when I moved to Florida, I had suggested another one of my friends move when we moved, since it was a group of us who were all moving together. It would have been easier on us to be together. Well, she said to me, well, I can't move. My kids are still in school, and that's more important, and I don't want to move them in the middle of the school year. Now, mind you, schools were closed. So there was no school when I moved. Schools were not open. So she didn't want to move them because of what may have happened when the schools reopened. And apparently them not being able to make new friends, which is crazy and not realistic at all of children. So instead of moving when we moved, she didn't move. Well, things are getting progressively worse back home, and she does not have an exit strategy. Now, I'm not going to bring up to her again about the moving issue because she already rejected that. However, when I moved, I knew it was time to move. And so the people who listen to me are doing much better down here. And the people who did not listen to me are not doing so well up the road. And it would have made way more sense to just follow my lead when the spirit, another part of this is that the 2/3 and the Gentiles and whoever else, they really have to learn how to follow the lead of the people who have the microphone, of the ones who have the ear of the Most High. Otherwise, they're going to be stuck dealing with the situation that they're dealing with, and there's nothing that I can do now. There's nothing I can do to assist in that, and there's nothing I'm willing to do either, because when I moved, right, when I moved, it was the right thing to do. It was the right time. I could read the writing on the wall, and the people who trusted me have been rewarded for it, and the people who didn't, I don't know what to tell them. Like, I have another friend. I said when I moved, I said she should move. No, I don't want to move my kids. And this, I'm like, why is everybody so worried about moving their kids? My kids have done fabulously since moving. Moving was the best thing I could have done for my children. It was actually the reason why I did it, because I did not want to subject them to the corruption I know is in the public schools, or all the schools really back home. And so my kids have thrived, totally turned into Florida Beach Barbies, fine with that. You know, we got a whole tribe out here. Everything is cool, you know, and so they haven't missed a beat. But there are people who hear this information and they're just, eh. And it's the same thing with the truth. When you tell people the truth about stuff, yeah, people, it's not that bad, you know. But this is not about moving. This is about the truth. The truth, when people get the truth into their heads, you know, it's very easy to get the new knowledge and not to really understand, and not really understand what is going on. And so we have to be just aware of what happens when people get the truth, they get this information from us, and then they don't know what to do. And the way that we can make sure that we do not allow their lack of understanding to influence us is that we need to be very, very sure about what we want in our heart. We, as a people, suffer from a lack of imagination. And the reason, shalom, shalom, the reason we suffer from a lack of imagination is because we have been very limited in our ability to dream, quote unquote, big, to believe the stories in the Bible as if they are real. Other people, when they read the Bible and other religious books, fairy books, whatever, they believe these things as real. In our upbringing, they told us that the things that happened in the Bible did not necessarily happen the way, things were different back then. No, things were exactly the same way they are now. Things were exactly the same way in the times of Noah as they are right now. Things are exactly the same way as they were in the times of Moses. And you know they're the same way because all the same people are here doing all the same exact things. Today, if Yahweh Shai came today, there will be 2/3 in the crowd in front of the White House talking about Barabbas. We want Barabbas. You know it. You know people like this. And so, knowing that everybody is here, everything is the same. When you hear about a donkey open his mouth and talking to a man, you know that's literal. That's not a joke. That's a literal thing that happened. The donkey opened up his mouth and started talking to the man. And the man, Balaam, instead of being like, man, this is crazy, a donkey's talking to me, it was no issue. He just started talking back to the donkey as if that was normal. Eve opened up her mouth, started talking to a serpent. Nobody questioned that. No, why would I talk to a serpent? No, it was normal to have these dialogues with nature, the trees, the plants, the animals. It was normal. You communicated with everything. And the Bible was communicating that. But what these pastors did is they took that information and they told you that's not what that was. What it is boop, 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 boop. And so what we have to do is open up our minds to Yeah, when dog talks to man, he listen. People listen to this stuff. See, that's good. We now we have to take our imagination and apply it to our dreams. Meaning, if you were given a vision about what your life is supposed to be like, right? You don't have any idea how that vision is supposed to come into be. You don't question the vision. What you do is say, well, however the universe is going to do this, I'd love to see it. I'm excited to play this game. You have to put the energy and the effort into making the universe do it. And me, I'm a younger person, so I can take shock and awe. So I'm not putting no limits on the universe. Make it as exciting and dramatic as possible for me at this point. I think that's a good experience for my kids. But if you're an older person, you may say, let this thing this vision I've been given come about in, the least dramatic way possible. That's really, really important for some people. If you cannot handle a lot of, if you can't handle shock and awe from the Most High, you better say it. Because what we have found out in our working with the spirit is that if we are not very clear about whether we want shock and awe or we want things to be done nice and peacefully, we're going to get shock and awe every time. And you know what? Sometimes shock and awe is overwhelming, especially if you're an older person. I can handle shock and awe. I'm a younger person. But if your heart cannot handle shock and awe, you better tell the spirit when you manifest this thing, let it be as less dramatic as possible. Make this in the most calmest way possible. You have to be clear. No, this is not all that there is. And that is what you have to be very clear on how you intend to move forward with your manifestation. So, for example, I made a meditation track earlier, and I went down to the beach and all of that. And one of the things I asked for in the meditation was, the main thing was about this unexpected treasure, right? To actually have access to this unexpected treasure. And what I did was I listened to that all morning, over and over and over and over again. I listened to that while I was doing other stuff, while I was talking on the phone, while whatever it was I was doing, I was letting that run in my subconscious. And so as I was letting that run in my subconscious, it occurred to me that for me personally, it occurred to me that I have always been taken care of by an outside force. I'll put it that way. That's a better way to put it. I have taken care of myself in general, but when it comes to like big stuff, it's always been an outside entity that came in and they did it for me. And so I have to be comfortable with that. That is my path in life. Now I understand that is not for everybody. And so I'm not telling other people that, oh, well, I just sit around and wait for Sky Daddy to show up and they just show up. No, no, no. I'm not telling everybody to do that. I'm saying that's my experience. And I have to be like comfortable with knowing what my experience is so that I can tell other people this is my experience. This is what happened to me. And so you have to find out how it happens, how things happen for you. And then you have to stand in your understanding and in your knowledge that that is how things happen for you. Oh, I'm not going to be able to go too long because my phone is dying. That is how things happen for you. And it's not bad and it's not good. It's not to observe whether it's bad or good. It's just to know things like this always happen for people like me. And what is people like me? I don't know. When I say it, I don't know what it means. But I know that that's how things like that happen for me. People like me. And I feel comfortable with that and I feel confident in that. And that has been a part of this lesson that I've had to learn over this last few weeks of just accepting that things come for me in a certain particular way and they don't come for other people in that way. Like, I didn't want to like start like working and stuff and all of that. But most I was like, go with what is the least resistance. So as long as there's no resistance, I'm just rolling down. I'm not going to be stressing myself out trying to plan every single moment. I'm just going to roll with the flow. Go with the flow. And that's kind of how it works for me. Some people, based on your chart, this is why it's extremely important to look at what all the aspects in your chart are. Everything you need to know about yourself is in your chart. You just have to know how to interpret it. And that is the part where even if you got a reading from me, like you still have to be looking at that chart and figuring out that thing on your own, because there's more stuff into your chart. You will start to notice patterns when you get ready to actually go and look for certain things. And that is the reason why, you have to be on top of figuring out who you are. You can't possibly know who you are if you don't know your chart. If you don't have a basic understanding of your chart, if you don't have a specific understanding of your chart, you don't know who you are, because that is the outline. That is the foundation for which we were formed. We were picked to be birthed at a date, at a time, at a location, and all the energy that comes from there. That's a very fixed energy. So you have to, the fixed part of yourself is in your chart. Now, the mutable part of yourself, the part that is constantly changing, you can use tarot cards, any kind of divination techniques to see that. Pendulum, tarot cards, um, human design, all that stuff is the fluctuating part. You can look at the transits. It's all kinds of ways you can figure out where you are right now. But if you want to, you have to know where you start at. Because one of the questions that the girl asked that I thought was extremely valuable is that, can you know who you fully are without a material representation? This situation I've been through the last few weeks has taught me is that no matter what, I know who I am. Before, I wasn't 100% sure of that. Now I'm 100%. No matter what, I'm going to be a channeler and a diviner. You can't take those things from me. Those are the intangible things that make up who I am. I've always been able to channel the spirits, and I've always been able to divine the spirits. And I've always been able to put those two things together, which, like I've mentioned before, a lot of people can't put that energy together. They can do one or they can do the other. Very few people can do both successfully. And that's where you have your Oracle of Delphi and your other symbols. That is a very specialized set of skills that I have. And so no one can take that from me. That's not a physical, tangible thing that you can get a chart for free online. You don't have to get a chart. You don't have to pay for a chart. You can get a chart for free online. I mean, it's not going to have all the bells and whistles, but it's still there. If for some reason someone has to do some kind of spiritual diagnosis on an issue that you're having, they're going to start by asking you your sign and where this planet is and where that planet is. So I recommend, I'm not saying you have to go and buy one, go and get a free one, but you want to be aware of, I'm suggesting you're aware of at least your baseline information about yourself, because I also feel like I don't want to buy a bunch more books. I mean, I had said that, oh, I'm not buying any more books. I'm not buying anything. I don't need anything else. And then as soon as I shut my mouth, as soon as I finished talking and saying that, I was like, dang, I need a Talmud. Not only do I need a Talmud, I need a Sefer, because there's information in the Talmud and the Sefer that I can't seem to find anywhere else. Now, I find a Talmud online, but I know I'm not going to find a Sefer online. So I'm still going to have to get a Sefer. And then as soon as I finished saying that, oh, I'm not buying anything else, then I was like, you know what? I would really like to be able to do shadow readings. And because I noticed that in myself, if I'm having a hard time figuring out where my shadow parts are when stuff comes up that I can work on it, then I'm sure this is an issue that other people have. So I have since in my mind said that I'm not going to make any hard and fast decisions like that. When the spirit says it's time to buy something, I'm just going to go and buy it. Um, I'm not going to limit my relationship with money. Okay, so the girl Erin, she did a video. I think I shared it, and she was in the video. She was discussing how people, when they are interacting with money, right? They say, things like, oh, that's too expensive, I can't afford it. And they get into this lack mentality. And so, what she suggested is when people are interacting with things that cost and they tell you how much it costs, you just say, oh, that's perfect. And I have done not exactly that, but I like the way that she explains it, because what it does is when I have money and I go places like farmers market or something, a craft market or whatever, and people tell me how much something costs, if I have the money to get it, I just get it. And if I don't have the money to get it, I say, "Oh, that's a really good price." And then I move on. Because that is a good price. I just don't have that much money on me right now. I'm just going to move on. And so I now interact with money more so like that. And so 9 times out of 10, I have the money to get the things that I want when I go out, even if I don't really have that much money, because the angels know that when I go out and I interact with different products, I'm going to say, "Oh, that's a really good price." I'm not going to call the negative energy into my aura or into my space by complaining about how much something costs. If something is a good price, then that's a good price. Now, sometimes it's that I can make something for a less price. So maybe their price is a good price for their product, but I know that I can go home and make that for half the price. But I'm not calling in that negative energy by saying, oh, that's a bad price. I can't afford that, or what. I'm not calling in negative energy and putting negative energy into something that someone else created with their hands. I'm just simply observing, either that's a good price or that's not a good price. If I told you how many people I was supporting with no income, then you will understand that I am in that situation. I have 3 children. I have nothing but the Most High, literally. And every single time I open my mouth to do something, the stuff just magically appears. The money comes out of nowhere. Miraculous things happen. And what I'm trying to do on this channel is to get people to vibrate at the frequency that these things will happen for others as they happen for me. See, because I understand that I am an unusual case in everything. Everything that happens to me is unusual, tremendously unusual. However, my goal, like I always say, is to limit the amount of unnecessary pain and suffering, and of limit the amount of deaths, and limit the amount of pain and suffering. And so when I have these type of conversations, it's to hopefully help people vibrate on a higher frequency, because right now, whatever you want is it's at your fingertips. Literally, we are literally creating our reality. But I think that a lot of people, they don't know what they desire, and so the reality that they're creating is reflecting that. So I had mentioned a few weeks ago that about this Antichrist spirit and this Jezebel spirit. Now I think I'm calling them programs. The Jezebel program was implemented in a lot of us due to the hypersexualization of the music videos and the music, and all kinds of sexual trauma and all of that. That program was implanted into us so that it would automatically run. And then they paired that program with the Antichrist program, which is a program of mocking you. So the way that played out for me personally is that when it was time for me to make a move, instead of the move being what the Most High promised me it would be, I ended up going through a whole other set of experiences that wasn't even supposed to happen because I let those programs control where I was going instead of being in control of that. So I can say, this boy, you sleepy. You sleepy. So I can say that what happened to me is a result of my thinking and me not being in control of what was happening. I let a lot of outside influences affect me, and when I was already at a low emotional state. And so since then, I have been working on like trying to figure out how to maintain a high vibration, which is why I started doing the meditations. I started going into the blessing of people. I started with the cursing. We went from cursing into blessing. And I started doing all those things as an attempt to raise my vibration because I realized that whatever I was attracting into my life, it was something that I did. So what I attracted into my life, you know, recently, all of this stuff is recent, but I attracted a house into my life that was a terrible house. I attracted a car situation that's a terrible situation. And so as I've raised my vibration, and it's almost like mocking me. It's like, oh yeah, they're giving me what I want, but it's the worst possible version of what I want, right? And so it's not that I don't have what I want. I just have the worst possible version of it. The most expensive version, expensive as it costs a lot with little value, the version of it that's causing me the most pain and suffering and turmoil, that's what I've been getting. So since I can see with my spiritual eyes how this thing is playing out, what I'm trying to do is keep my vibration higher so that as these things come in, or as I put out into the universe things like I said, which is this is what I think about before I go to sleep now. How quickly can the universe match the vibration of my heart's desires? When I think about that, how quickly can the universe match my heart's desires, right? When I think about that, I am challenging the universe to bring me what I actually asked for instead of allowing the universe to bring me the trash that they bought me because my vibration was low. And so that's what this is about. What exactly is that you want? How is it? And this is not like how, if you've seen The Secret, you've seen all these people talk about this law of attraction and all this stuff. This is not that. What makes what I'm saying different? Number one, I've studied all that stuff for a very, very long time. And I like it, but I never saw the practical use of it. What I am saying about now and this time is that you are literally able to create the reality that you want. And it does not have to take a long time. But if you are vibrating on a low frequency, you are going to create your vibrational match. And that's what they did not tell you about those in a secret and all of that. They don't tell you about the vibration. They don't explain to you that you are bringing in, you are creating. Now, are you creating what you want or are you creating what you're matched to? And so if you are not on the vibration, yes, if you are not on, that's why I keep making these videos, because as I'm realizing this stuff, I'm making the videos about it, hoping that people will be able to see this in themselves. As I realized that what I wanted was, I was vibrating on such a, even though I had in my mind what I wanted, because I was vibrating on such a low frequency, I was only able to get what I was, the vibration can only match. That's it. And what the vibration matched me with was this absolutely ridiculous house that no real person would live in, right? But that's because I was on the vibration of the house that I was living in. It may have looked nice on the outside, but it was an absolutely ridiculous house that nobody would live in. So I just This house matches the vibration I just came out of. I did that. I wasn't looking at the house as a beautiful house that was this and that, because it wasn't. It was a trashy house. It was a terrible, awful, trashy house with terrible, awful, trashy owners. And so, because that's where my mind was, that's where my vibration was when I left out of that place, I came right into another place that was exactly the same. And so, that I can't blame on anybody else. So now what I'm doing is I'm raising my vibration around it. Like, okay, well, this is not the kind of house that I wanted. So the kind of house that I wanted is XYZPQRS. And so as a way of vibrating me higher, the Most High had to take me out of the house. So now instead of being stuck in the house all day, this, that, and the other, now I'm out of the house most of the day. Well, because I'm out of the house most of the day, I'm not focused on how awful this place is. I'm more able to focus on what I want my life to be like once I'm in a new space. And so, for me, that was okay. So, when I'm in a new space, how do I want to handle that? I want to be able to go to the beach every day, and then I want to stop at the cafe and get some coffee, and then I'll go and do some work. And when I'm done doing my work, I'll go and pick the kids up, and then we'll ride around and we'll have dinner, and it'll be like that. So, the things that I cannot control, which is the space that I'm in right now, I have no control over that. I'm spending less time focusing on the vibration of that and more time getting into the vibration of what will I do once I'm in the space that I want to be in. That's how I'm able to, and I'm an earth sign. So this may be unnecessary for you if you are some other sign. But as an earth sign who is grounded in reality, I have to go through this process like this. So even when I'm in a bad situation, I'm just trying, I don't focus on the things that I know that I have no control over. I'm trying to focus on the things that I do have control over. And I do have control over going to the beach every day. Even when it's chilly, like today, I had on my hoodie, I wore long pants, I was prepared. And yesterday when I went, I was not prepared, which is why I was quite unpleasant. But today when I went, I knew it was going to be cold. I checked the weather. I was prepared when I went there. And that's how I am processing this for myself. And I'm only talking about my thought process again so that people can figure out which parts they can use to enhance their own thought process. We have all been through a lot. So we all have ways that we process this information. I am simply like, as I upgrade the way that I process it, I'm documenting it so that if somebody needs it, come back to it or whatever, they will be able to do the same thing. Whereas, a lot of people, like I said, with this whole law of attraction and all of that stuff, the way that they talk about raising their level of consciousness, it's unrealistic and it's not practical. What I'm talking about is saying the mantras. Like I said, if you listen to the video I made earlier, it used the Grabovani whatever code, and it uses the affirmations, the affirmation, and then the gratitude. And in putting those things together, like all of those things together, seems to be something that is actually helpful. So, and I'll say this is what happened to me. So I made that video today, right? I had never said all those stuff before. I had made no video. And when I got to the cafe to get my coffee, I found this magazine. Now this is a really nice, full color, beautiful magazine, right? Totally free. But look what it's called. It's called Living Lux. And you see it's in gold and it's raised. It's beautiful. So what are the odds that I'm talking about in the meditation, finding unexpected money, and then I run across this free magazine that's talking about living lux? That's a sign. That's a clear sign from the universe. And even the whole cherry blossom thing, like I'm from DC, I love cherry blossoms. So the fact that I find, this book at a place I randomly stopped to get coffee Right after I do that meditation, I take that as a sign from the universe that I'm going in the right direction. So it's not only like about, being able to raise your vibration, you also have to be able to identify when certain things come up so that you can get the confirmations from the universe that things are going in the right direction, that you have raised your vibration. Because when you're in a low vibration, you get all the messages too. We just very bad at reading the messages because we don't have clear intentions for what we want. So because we're so bad at reading the messages from the universe about what it is that we don't want, we also are bad at reading the messages for what we do want. So that's why you have to be very clear about what you want. And once you're clear about what you want, your heart's desire, then you can call the universe to call it into you. And so that's really just what I wanted to talk about. Get very clear about what you want your life to look like, your very best life. Not the life that you actually have right now, but what you want your life to really look like. If it's, you want to retire with money, if you want to, I have some other outside entity come in and take care of me like they always have, or whatever it is that, or if you want a better job, whatever it is that is going to bring you your heart's desire, you need to be clear about what that is. And then you start taking the steps in that direction. So you put all your energy into taking the steps in the direction of what you want. So like for me, I already have the house that I want picked out. I already have the car that I want picked out. The only thing, like I keep saying, that is everything that money does not require, I have done. What I require right now to get what I need is money. So since the money hasn't actually manifested itself yet, I am focusing in on what am I going to do once I'm in this situation. Well, I'll be making videos like this all the time. So I made a video this morning. I got a video in the middle of the day I made another video. I would just be making videos all the time, sharing the knowledge that have come in, the messages that come in, doing some more heavy channeling, that kind of things. So this is, you know, this is how I am processing it. And what I know is that a lot of people on this side of the walk are not explaining how they're processing this stuff. They're telling you things, but they're not giving you the nuts and bolts of how they're processing this information that's coming in. And a lot of people do not have the capability of giving the nuts and bolts of how they're processing. And that is something that I do have. I have the language capabilities to explain the nuts and bolts of how I am processing all of these new things that are coming in. And so because that is what I have, that's what I'm giving. I mean, the whole thing about not having negativity is like you need some contrast, but you want to control it. You want to control it. You don't want the contrast to overwhelm the light, but you need to be able to see the darkness so that you know that your light is shining. So, okay, a good example of this, right? I'm driving this bus, and the bus needs diesel exhaust fluid, right? And so I told these people this morning, hey, the diesel exhaust fluid is getting low. It's giving me a warning light. I need to put like this stuff in here. And they're like, okay, well, we'll work on it. So I'm not on the bus all during the day. I go back to pick up the bus, and the bus isn't there. I say, okay, well, where is this bus at? Well, apparently they used the bus to go on a field trip. Okay, no problem. But I knew that the diesel exhaust fluid was low. And so nobody took care of that. That just totally didn't happen. So I get to my sister's house, and they have a family full of truck drivers. So I asked her mother-in-law, well, what happens if the diesel engine runs out of exhaust fluid? She's like, well, I don't know because I never let it happen. And I was like, okay. So my sister called her husband, and he said, well, if it runs out of the diesel exhaust fluid, then it's going to slow down to like 5 miles an hour, and you don't want that to happen. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to go around the corner and buy some, because I don't want to be driving the bus with kids on it and it slows down to 5 miles an hour and somebody has to come and bring me this stuff because I didn't want to just spend a few dollars to go and get it. Well, this whole process turned into a whole thing because I couldn't get the thing open to put it in. Then I couldn't actually get the diesel exhaust fluid open. So I had to get somebody to come and help me open up the thing to put it in the daggone bus. Then I had to get somebody to help me open up the actual container so that I could get it out to put it in the bus. So I encountered a ton of resistance in trying to get this thing done. So I know based on that experience that this is not going to be something that I'm doing for a long time. That was a lot of resistance for something that needed to be done. That is a warning to me to keep my eyes open for an exit. That's how I interpret that, because there is no reason why it should have been that difficult for them all day for somebody to go get the stuff. They know I got to drive this bus. So I know that my light is extremely bright. As a result, look, this thing was crazy. I was like, what is going on with this thing? So I know that my light is shining bright as a result of the worst thing that happened to me today was me being unable to get diesel exhaust fluid. That is where the darkness showed up in my day. Now, that's like insignificant. That's extremely insignificant, right? Because it's just some fluid. I mean, it shouldn't have been all of that, but it was so much resistance that I knew that's a thing that's going to be an ongoing issue. Either I will deal with it or I know that I'm looking for my exit. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be as attached to something where I can see that they're not handling stuff the way it needs to be handled. And it's no offense against the job or anything like that, but that is the resistance I encountered. And so as a result, I can see I'm shining so bright that that's the only place resistance could come in, was something as simple as they got mechanics on site. All they had to do, run somebody to the store and do it. And they didn't. And so it's a possibility they may not reimburse me. I don't know how this process is going to go. But I knew one thing: I was not willing to put myself or the kids in jeopardy going 5 miles an hour on the interstate. And so what needed to be done was done. That's how I handle it. And that is the kind of stuff that when you, like, I'm clear about what I'm trying to accomplish here. You know, all this other stuff is just showing me, well, this ain't gonna last for so long because I'm not gonna be dealing with that kind of stuff over and over and over again. They got that was a one-time thing. The next time I'm just gonna leave the bus. I'm not gonna drive that. You're gonna give me another bus to drive. I won't drive it. And that'll be the end of that. I won't even think twice about it because I see how they do. And so that's how you have to be able to process the stuff that comes up. That was a very small amount of resistance, but it's annoying enough when I didn't have any other resistance all day. Everything I did was with ease. Everything flowed. There was there's no difficult part of the day. And just that little piece being so difficult tells me that that's just a point of resistance, and it is what it is. I'm just, I'm observing it as if I'm just a spectator. So while that whole thing was going on, I didn't get any type of emotional about it. I'm observing it like a spectator. I'm like, okay, I can't get this open. Okay, I can't get that open. So let me go ask somebody for help. And luckily somebody could help me, because I could have just left that bus sitting right there and been like, y'all gonna have to come put some stuff in this, and the lady, whoever, would have had to come and do it. And I wouldn't have thought about it anymore. It would just been complete, because I'm not accepting that as my reality. I'm not accepting that into my actual energy field. I'm just I'm just observing it. And so that is something that, I'm sharing so that we can all start doing that. When things start coming up, we can observe how we respond to it and don't get so emotionally caught up in whatever it is. And like I said, it is a difficult process because it's an unnatural process for us. And this is what I mean by our heart's desire. Now imagine if it was my heart's desire to drive this bus and this would happen. This would be crushing to me. You know, I would be crushed over this. And I'm not crushed. It's a bus, okay? You know, it's all right, but it's not the end of the world. So I just to say that, you know, that's just something to think about. Like, I'm not saying I have all the answers, but as I observe things in my own self, I'm just trying to bring them up and bring them out in such a way that hopefully people will reflect on their own situations and try and come up with better ways of dealing with their issues. And so you'll see a lot more videos from me. Like I said, you know, I'm really focused in on what is going to keep my vibration high, and sharing this kind of information does keep my vibration high. And and so that's how I am handling being in the midst of an extremely low vibrational situation. I'm in a very low vibrational situation, which I cannot change right this minute. I as soon as it changes, it'll be over, and this will be like a nightmare just, and I woke up. But in the meantime, I am training myself to keep my vibration high in the process. And that's what we have to do in the midst of the situations that are not high vibrational situations. Figuring out how to keep, that is, figuring out how to keep myself vibrating higher so that I don't get dragged down into this three-dimensional being controlled by what I can touch and feel and see. Because part of this is that there's a lot of stuff going on in the spiritual world. And instead of being an observer of the spiritual world, I want to be a co-creator. That's what I was talking about yesterday. And so it takes for us to really dig deep in on what we want our life to look like. And so if we don't dig deep in on what we want and really being clear about what we want for our own selves, the universe cannot bring that to you. The universe is only going to bring you what you are vibrating at. That's what this whole thing. So, I mean, I could give a lot of examples, but the universe is only going to bring you what you're vibrating at. And so if you're not vibrating at the frequency of what you want, then there's no way the universe can bring it to you. You have to get your vibration up. Outside of getting your vibration up, oh my goodness. This is taking my vibration down. Okay, so you have to keep your vibration up. It's extremely important to keep your vibration up. You have to be careful about who comes into your energy field. And I would suggest that you don't interact with people, or you limit your interactions with people who are not people who typically vibrate at a high vibration. And the reason for that is we are very fragile right now due to all of the energies coming in. And if you are around people that vibrate at a low vibration and you are not firmly in a high vibration, you will take on their vibration and you will come down, And so if anybody who can handle it, this is just me. This is what I'm doing. Like, I can see people are vibrating at a low vibration right now. I'm trying not to get involved with a bunch of people. I mean, my phone is ringing off the hook. I've never gotten phone calls like this. Never. And I'm just not taking in this vibration as much as it is wiring me. My stuff I'm trying to keep myself cool. So, everybody handles the stuff the best way they can. I am just doing these lives to share my experience and my observations from the day. Normally, I would just tell this to one or two people, and then I would just let it go and I wouldn't think about it again. But I feel like at this point, if I want my vibration to be high, I have to share this information in a way that people can come back and get it, that I can come back and get it and reprocess it at a later time, because a lot of my messages are more like channeled, and so I have to go back and re-listen to them in order to get the full meaning, because I'm just repeating what I'm getting from the spirit realm. And I'm trying not to actually interfere with that. But so this message may not be for everybody, but if it does resonate with you, keep your vibration high. Interact with people who are going to help you maintain a high vibration, and try not to take on the low vibration that this 3D realm is presenting, because the vibration that's being presented in this 3D realm is not a real vibration. It's not real. It's an imagination. It's a collective conglomerate of a lot of different experiences, and you do not have to accept it. You can reject this vibration that's coming through, and I highly suggest that that's what you do. You reject this vibration, because it is not a real vibration. This is not the vibration of love. Therefore, it's not real, and you don't have to participate in it. And we have to, you know, right, the whole thing of like how to manage your day to day, like this is just what I came up with. These are the things that I'm doing because, like I said, nobody on our side talks about this stuff this way, where they're telling you, oh, this is happening to me and this is how I'm dealing with it. This is how I'm observing it. This is how I'm responding to it. A lot of people do a lot of videos, but none of them are practical. And that's what I'm trying to be, as practical as possible, because that's what would have helped me a year ago when I was just getting into this walk. Like, some practical things would have been extremely useful. I learned a lot of stuff, and I'm grateful for everything that I learned. However, none of it is practical. None of it I could tell my daughter, go and do. This stuff, I can tell her, oh, go and try this, go and try that. Things are working. None of the stuff, other stuff, I couldn't tell my daughter to do any of this stuff. It wouldn't be practical. It's useful. Again, that term, accurate but irrelevant. It's irrelevant to me being able to make it through my day to day. What is working for me is getting up every morning on my run out in the bus, going to the beach, recording the videos, having some conversations, putting the videos online, thinking about the information that comes through overnight, and then putting it into an implementation, reviewing my day with you all for the things that worked and didn't work for me for that day. And so this is a feedback system that is helping me to maintain a high vibration. And so I don't know how helpful this is to other people, but just identifying those things would be the most practical way to be able to stay in a high vibration. And I know that as I'm able to maintain my high vibration, despite the things that have happened or are happening, that the things that I want will start to manifest even faster, because I am a manifester and I have been manifesting a lot. I've just been manifesting a lot of crap. And so in order to not manifest a lot of crap, in order to not manifest a lot of crap, I've got to take the things that I have learned that are impractical in its, by nature it's impractical, and make it practical. And all the things that we've learned can be made practical, but you got to integrate them into your life. And you have to know what that looks like and how that is. So these reflections are just like how, because going to, the beach every day is something, that's one of the things I wanted to do when I moved to Florida. I was like, oh, well, the beach is right there. I just go to the beach every day. And then I got to Florida and I turned into a Floridian. And Floridians never go to the beach. It's only the visitors that go to the beach every day. So I came right in, and I turned into a Floridian. So now I'm like, no, I need to behave like, a tourist. So I've been going to the beach every day. I have the little beach that I like, and I park in the same spot, and I walk around, and I see the dogs and all of that stuff. Just like a tourist. That's what I would do. I'm treating this place as if I'm a tourist. And that thought process for me is what is helping me to maintain a high vibration, because tourists are on vacation. So imagine I am now treating this situation as if I'm on vacation. So even this terrible house that I'm in, okay, well, if I went on vacation, I stayed at an Airbnb, it could be terrible. It's 9 times out of 10 it would be awful, which is why I don't like Airbnbs. So now I can process in my mind like, oh, this is not my house. This is an Airbnb, and it's an awful one. This is bad. This is awful. That's awful. You know what I mean? And so that takes it out of being my problem that I put myself in, and into being a problem that's, this is a problem of the homeowner or whoever. It ain't my problem because it's not my place. I'm just staying here for a little bit, and it's awful. And when I leave, I can give a terrible review on how terrible this place was. That's just changing the thing. I haven't changed anything about my situation. Nothing is different. It's just now I'm looking at it as from a different perspective. Right, making the best out of it, and just finding a way to keep your vibration high. And so the more that we are able to do that in our practical lives, then the more we are able to actually make this thing work. And so I'll be back with another review. Hopefully this has been helpful for thought process, developing, a more high vibrational thought process, because we are creating. We do have the power, and that's why this is very important to me to talk about, because we absolutely have the power. The problem is what we're doing with the power is creating a bunch of crap. And we really, really, really have to work on what we're creating with all this power that we have. So, to the spirits who are here with us, you're invited to go in peace. To my beloved viewers, you're invited to be at peace. And always remember, the Most High is your peace. Shalom.